Hi, I'm Marc Granville, Senior Director at ICMA, the International Capital Market Association, and Head of the Education and Training team. Today, we are very pleased to be talking to my old friend, Kaikham from IFC, about some training that we've done with them for many years now, going on, just over 6 years, Kaikham?
That is correct, Mark. Thank you for your invitation. It's a great pleasure to be with you in London.
Thank you. Look, Kaikham, can you start by telling us a little bit about your role at IFC and your involvement in the GBTAP?
So IFC stands for the International Finance Corporation. We are the private sector arm of the World Bank Group. We launched the Technical Assistance Program, which a lot of people know as GBTAP, the Green Bond Technical Assistance Program, in 2018.
So for those who are unfamiliar with the GBTAP or the program, what was the main purpose and kind of when was it launched? Or why was it launched? When was it launched? Why was it launched?
So we had the great fortune to have three wonderful partners that launched the program with us in 2018. The Swiss State Secretariat for Economic Affairs, the Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency, and the Ministry of Finance of Luxembourg. This was on the onset of the 2015 Paris Agreement. IFC created a fund, the AP Ego Fund, which is now being managed by Amundi. It's the largest fund created for green bonds. It was dedicated to create the demand for green bond from emerging market issued by financial institutions. The Technical Assistance Program was to accompany this fund, the size of 1.4 billion, to help develop the supply of green bonds in emerging market.
So I think it's been fair to say that the Green Bond Technical Assistance Program, GBTAP, has had a wide impact across emerging markets. How did you go about designing a training program that could really address those needs?
Okay, so we have different components. So I lead the public goods component, and I have another colleague, Gwen. She also leads the one-on-one support. She helps, for example, 12 countries to develop their own taxonomy, and then also provide one-on-one support to financial institution which wants to issue green bonds. So for my part, on the public goods side, we have, of course, executive training, which we have partnered with you. And we have also, thought leadership reference guide that we have provided the market, first of its kind, such as the Green Bond Handbook on how to issue green bonds in emerging market for financial institutions in Latin America. We've also provided the best practice on impact reporting, market research, as well as the biodiversity guidelines, and soon we will also provide a green building, how to invest in green building guidance for FIs.
Why did IFC decide to partner with ICMA for the delivery of these training elements?
So at the time when we started, which is 6.5 years ago, almost 7, there were no such training of its kind. Our target was market practitioners. And it was important for us to partner with ICMA because you guys are the secretariat for the Green Bond Principle. We want to disseminate, Green Bond Principle, best practice. And it was also important for us to have a partner that has the same reach, same aspiration, and impact for emerging market. Okay. So, putting together the brand of IFC and ICMA, I think was very important when we launched the training. And also, both brand, we have this, how should I say, unbiased focus on developing the market.
I think that's a fair thing. I mean, ICMA reaches a large audience, right? Our membership is now 620 institutional members across 70 different jurisdictions. So it's really important that we appeal to as wide an audience in the markets as possible. So that's nice to hear you say. So bringing it back to the training itself a little bit, what role did ICMA's expertise and market knowledge play in the shaping of the course content itself?
A very important one, especially during COVID. As you remember, during that time, we were doing, before training in person. So the online training was new to us, and ICMA, I think you were one of the organizations that had, done many online training already. So it was new for us. But you were also the first organization that launched the Sustainable Finance online training, which we use for participants as, preparation, course preparation. Because we can't just dive in, what is green bond. They need to understand, the context of sustainable finance. And so it was very critical for us to not only have, your expert talk about the principle, but also, support us in delivering this online during COVID, which was, almost 2 years.
Yes, no, I remember
of
it
online
well.
training.
Yeah, no,
yes.
I remember it was delivering that from a shed in my backyard, I think, for a little while there when COVID was happening. That was cool.
Exactly, your man cave.
That was fun. So I was going to ask you about a specific example of the training that was particularly impactful or well received, but I think that's a good answer. I mean, do you think from the training program itself, because we had lots of speakers speaking about different things, we had obviously the online component, we had a teacher talk type thing where experts would be speaking, and then we would have group work and pair work, all sorts of things. From your perspective, what do you think was the most well received from the feedback you received?
I think the way we have structured the executive training together is very unique because it's for practitioners. So we don't dive in, green bond per se, but to the context of sustainable finance, and that green bond actually is an anchor for a financial institution to transform itself into a more sustainable bank. And so the way we approached this together was that they need to understand that they cannot work in silos, because when you issue a green bond, you need to work across the organization. So we also have simulated, case studies and real life pitch to real investor and market players. So there's many components that I think that we have done well, especially the bringing, alumni banks that have issued to share their journey on issuing these green bonds, the pitfalls, and the motivation behind it. And it's also, we put people in teams, they are total strangers, so they need to work together, but that reflects real life. Because when they have to issue a green bond, they need to work across the organization, people from even the IT department, the new business, to identify the pipeline, portfolio people, to identify, which project can be refinanced under green bonds, of course, treasury. So for them, we also give them the opportunity to display their leadership skills, their communication skill, their listening skills. So I think this is what makes it unique. And the pitch to real investors and market players is the highlights of our training, because it's a real life simulation and they get real feedback. So that gives them a lot of confidence, when they have to go back and do this.
I like that. I like the fact that you raise this idea of confidence, because I think for me, having delivered training in different environments for a number of years now, one of the key pieces of impact from this training was the confidence that it built within these different participants, right? And then that confidence was essential for them to go back to their organisations and hopefully get some of this off the ground. And it leads to my next question. So what impact do you feel that the GBTAP had on the local bond markets that, from the participants that we were training, from the different emerging markets, what impact do you think it actually had on those bond markets?
So going back just a little bit on the confidence, it's part of our training is we expose them also to the different market players in the ecosystem.
Right.
So they get to interact with the second party opinion provider, they get to interact with underwriters, and then real, investors. So this helps them understand every market player's perspective and gives them the confidence to interact with them in real life afterwards. So the impact that we've had, we teach the ICMA green bond principle, which is the principle that is applied 95% of the time from issuers in green bonds in emerging market. So this is important for us to bring this to them because they can then have access to international investors, not just local or regional investors. So it helps them diversify, right? And we also make the case why green bond, because it's obviously more work for them, but it raises the brand of their financial institution. We've heard from some of the alumni that their share actually, price went up, and then they diversified, investors, but overall they become a better bank, a more sustainable bank in the long run. So the impact that we've had is, when we do regional training, we invite banks from the, different parts of the region, whether it be in Latin America, Asia, or Africa. So we create a sense of competition. So then when they go back, they want to be first in their market to do these things. So I think it's created a market accelerator, I should say. And we've had a lot of cases where, because of our training and one-on-one support, many banks are the first in the market to issue these green social sustainability bonds.
So when we talk about tangible impacts, I mean, that's a real tangible impact, right? I mean, like participants come to the training and then, 6, 12, 18 months later, the bank issues their inaugural green bond, which is a huge mark of success. I mean, can you think of any other tangible impacts, for example, around improved regulatory understanding or things like that?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, my colleagues work also on taxonomy. So they help 12 countries develop their own taxonomy, 10 of which has been adopted. And when we have now trained about 2,000 bankers across 83 countries, 400 financial institutions. Very proud to say 41% of them are women. We try to develop climate champions. I call them climate rock star, climate superheroes, because these people are extremely enthusiastic and passionate and very smart in their own right. For example, they move around in the market. One of our alumni now works for the presidency of South Africa. So they move around. So we want to empower them and skill them on sustainable finance so that they can, help influence and shape their countries.
So this is this is not just immediate impact. We're talking now about longer term impact. Can you think of any other examples of kind of how the program has contributed to building long-term capacity at some of these institutions?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I'm very proud of with my team is that we've created an alumni network. And this alumni network is very active. We have, for example, a young banker from Bangladesh. He came to the training and it completely transformed him. And now he has a network of bankers of like minds that he can tap for knowledge. Just a few weeks ago, he did a webinar with a alumni in Brazil to learn more about, MSME sustainable finance. He did the same with another alumni in Poland, in Romania, and also in Dubai. So he's now one of the most knowledgeable and powerful banker in Bangladesh because he have access to all this alumni. So the learning continues, but not from us anymore, with each other. because the beauty of teaching a financial institution is no matter where they are in the world, they have the same business model, so they face the same challenge and the same opportunities. That's why it's easy for them to learn from each other.
I mean, it sounds amazing. So for that sort of impact on not just institutional but personal careers, what kind of feedback have you received in general from the training?
Well, the general feedback is it was the most challenging training that they've ever undertaken, because as I mentioned to you, it's very technical, but it also requires, I always tell them, come with an open mind and an open heart. And for me, it's always about touching someone's heart before you can touch their minds. And then it's like working together. The pitch that they work together, they only have 24 hours. So many of them work until 3, 4 in the morning. So it's very intense. But the common word that comes out of the training is transformative. They feel transformed. We set ourselves to, train and empower the next generation of bankers. And I always tell them it's not business as usual anymore. You cannot be a business as usual banker. You can't just learn to read financial statement. You need to understand, GHG mission. You need to understand which project has the most impact on the environment and on society.